Good morning. It is Jedi Master Sara here with fellow Jedi Master Annie, who is not a big fan of showing off for the camera still, but she will not be here for these videos. Every time I sit down, I just start hearing meow, 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 and she runs over and jumps on my lap. She's like, oh boy, it's my time to not be on camera but make plenty of noise. I don't even know, can you hear her purring? I don't know. So it's Friday. Ooh, it's 4:20 in the morning. Nice, blaze it. On August 21st. And, well, gosh. I feel like not too much really happened in my life yesterday. It's still so smoky here. I think that right now, with all the smoke in the air, we're kind of getting a preview of what it's going to be like social distancing in winter, which is to say it's going to be really boring and claustrophobic. As much of it as I'm an introvert, I don't do well just staying inside. And I'm not even much of a hiker or anything. I just I like hiking and I try to hike every year. Only short hikes this year, but I try to hike every summer. I'm not like a cold weather hiker. I hate cold weather. I just want to be able to pop out of the house and walk around the block, and it helps so much with my mood. In the winter, I'll keep it up for like the first month or so. My cat's licking my chest. It's kind of gross. For like the first month of cold weather, I'll have the wherewithal to bundle up and go out for walks and stuff, but it's like in January and February when it's been cold for a while and dark for a while, especially through the time change. Really, it's those first months of the year. I'd say, yeah, it gets really, really claustrophobic because I just no longer have the drive, my executive dysfunction for like getting everything dressed and warming myself up and going out. It just vanishes. And so I just get stuck inside. Theoretically, I could still dress and go. But right now isn't something that it's really like that with all this smoke in the air. I know I have a respirator mask specifically for smoke that I bought last fire season, but I had packed it up because we were about to move to Washington and I didn't plan to be in Nevada for another fire season. So I have to go unpack those boxes now because God knows how much longer we'll be stuck here. I'm sure I've mentioned I have pretty severe respiratory issues, and so does my sibling. And my littlest, my 5-year-old, is not diagnosed with anything, but had really creepy coughs with stridor when he was a baby, and I think his lungs aren't very good either, and so we can't really, this is just these are dangerous conditions for us, but I'm pretty hell-bent on not just sitting around and dwelling on it, because I keep thinking about people who, for whom things are not a problem until it's a problem for them. This is mostly something that I have predominantly observed in the comments on my local news sites, RGJ, the Reno Gazette Journal, and Colo 8, and a lot of those are trolls and bots. Reno is a big enough media market. We're actually a fairly major media market where I can't remember how the tier system works, but my understanding is that for the news, they have cities kind of ranked by tier. Obviously, Reno isn't up there with like San Francisco and Portland or anything, but Reno is like whatever level is below that. I think we're not that far from like Sacramento. Like I think we're kind of up there we might even, no, I think we're probably, anyway, because we're in one of the higher tiers of media prestige, I guess. The reason that I learned this information was I had an interview with not like for me to have a job, but I worked video production in high school, and I helped run, and I worked as news anchor for our school's TV station, which we had for some reason. So I used to sit in front of the whole high school, kind of like I am now, and read off the teleprompter about school news. But we also got to interview a newscaster who worked for the KTVN, anyway, she said that she wasn't from Reno, or she was from Reno, maybe, but she had to go to work in another city, like a small city in Ohio or Nebraska. Or all states are basically the same east of Utah and west of Florida to me. Like, there's like this whole murky nothing in the middle of the country. I have no idea what those states are. Like science and history, I'm not great at geography. And I was born in Nebraska. So all those states, including Nebraska, are a great big nothing to me. She said she had to go work in a small town and then come back before she could work in Reno. And because it's more prestigious and it's a higher pressure. My face is covered in Annie fur again. She didn't even rub on my face this time. And so the point of it is that Reno is a big enough media market to be targeted by special interests groups and bad actors. So a lot of the comments on there are just not made in good faith. But there are a fair amount of... I get very emotional when talking about these things, and I don't want to be insulting toward people who have had very different life experiences than I have and have come to very different conclusions. And I get really emotional about this, as we all do. So I don't know how to describe them, but they're real people who really think that coronavirus and fires and climate change are not a problem simply because they haven't noticed a direct effect on their life that they attribute to that cause yet. They are all about conspiracy theories or just straight up denialism. And frankly, given the existential threats facing the world, I can understand the comfort in such denialism. I have actually spent a lot of time thinking about these folks' mindset because I'm like the complete opposite. I over-personalize everything. I over-relate to everything. My empathy is always on hyperdrive, and it makes me so anxious. One time my father told me that I was an empath, which, for context, in our family, big Trekkies, we watched TNG together. So the Beta Zeds, the empaths, being told I was an empath by my dad, like when I was younger, it just made me feel cool, like I had a superpower. Over time, I've realized that this hyper-developed sense of empathy is a combination of anxiety and a trauma response. Because when you live in an abusive environment, you learn to empathize with your abuser so that you can predict blow-ups and you can predict things that present a risk to you. And so my hyper-developed empathy isn't really like a Beta Z superpower, as much as I would still like to think that I'm secretly Lwaxana Troi. It's that everything hurts me. Everything hurts for me. I'm afraid of everything hurting me. And so even things that haven't directly impacted me yet are not just real, but imminent threats. So I wonder how these people can say coronavirus is just a flu or whatever, as if it's nothing. How do they not read the news and feel like their skin is being peeled off with a cheese grater? That's just how I feel. I think that there's got to be a happy medium. Last night before I went to bed, I was seriously having quite the panic about the combination of wildfires in California and the coronavirus pandemic. I've been dreading fire season because the evacuations that it can cause and is causing this year means that shelters, emergency shelters and stuff aren't safe either. Anytime we have neighborhoods leaving their homes and going to a collection point like that, we are risking super spreader events, depending on the conditions. You can't tell me that we're going to be careful about transmitting coronavirus. We're not going to be screening people going into these emergency shelters, nor should we. It's just this perfect storm of bad, really bad things happening. And it's a direct consequence of our failure to properly respond to the coronavirus. And so last night I was panicking about this. And even though I, as far as I know, have not had coronavirus, and I haven't known anyone who has coronavirus, I certainly don't know anyone firsthand who has died of it. I have friends whose relatives have, but even these are friends, they're people I've known on the internet a while. So even then, they're not geographically close. They're not people that I'm used to seeing and consoling in person. So I don't have this immediate physical tie to this. I still feel like coronavirus is basically lurking in my bushes, about to jump out at me and then set fire to my house and run away cackling. How do I get a little bit of that detachment? How do I get a little bit of that perspective in reality? Last night when I was struggling to sleep, because I was trying to figure out an evacuation plan in the case of a fire, I had to keep reminding myself that right now there is not an imminent fire threat. But that my family was home safe together, that we're not in danger right now. So I'm getting. And then I had a meditation app and I took some Xanax. So I am getting good at working my way through these things, but I still can't seem to socially distance myself from things happening to other people. The empathy it's a bit of a fire hose, and I need to be able to turn it into a more innocuous kitchen sink hose where it doesn't like spray at you every time you turn it on. It doesn't blast at you. It's just a reasonable flow. It's definitely better to have, in my opinion, it's better to have a bit too much empathy than not enough. But there are limits. School is canceled again today because the smoke conditions are still quite terrible. And only 2 days of school for the first week of my kid at school. I don't care. My family has been home together for over 5 months now. It's been long and tiring, and we'll just keep doing it. I would rather keep doing it than have the district making choices that aren't healthy for the community's children, even though my children aren't at risk because we made alternative arrangements. But even with in-person school canceled, they're also canceling distance learning because they're not prepared to just, I don't know what's going on with the school district. So today's going to be another day with the whole family at home. I think it'll be nice. It was nice getting my kids out of the house and some stimulus, but just my eldest, starting after 5 months at home, just having school to stimulate their mind for 2 days and then taking a bunch of days off before going back, it kind of sounds like a good transition plan to me, honestly. It's got to be so frustrating for families who are trying to plan out of the house jobs. I know it's frustrating enough for me to think, finally, school is starting, and between the hours of 9 and 2, I can count on focusing on work. and not feeling guilty about it because my children are bored and jumping on my husband's head downstairs. And so if I'm experiencing frustration in rather ideal circumstances, then I can only imagine how other parents are feeling. There's just so much hurt in the world right now, and I can't seem to make myself stop talking about it and thinking about it unless I'm actually actively writing. So maybe for tomorrow's video, I'll just read something to you. Maybe I'll try not to, I don't want to ruminate on this stuff. Not at 4:20 in the morning, not at 4:20 in the afternoon. I need to stay in the moment and not make myself bleed over the hurts of the world so much that I don't have anything left for myself when I need it. Either way, it's Friday. I hope you have a good weekend, and I'll see you tomorrow.